How to survive a job while creating your exit plan. This is for Black women in toxic jobs. For many of you who are still working, you may be wondering, how do I survive being here when this job is beating me down? If you are thinking that you're really struggling at your job, this conversation is for you. This is also for Black women who, let's say you've left that job, or let's say you were laid off, let's say you're a federal worker. This conversation is also for you because when you go back into the workplace, we're going to talk about things to be aware of in the workplace and ways that you can really protect yourself in a workplace, even if you are eventually planning to leave. So if you don't know me already, I'm Dr. Kamani. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. I've been licensed for over 20 years. I'm also a toxic job survivor, but more importantly, I'm a toxic job liberator for Black women. I'm also the co-founder and co-host with Mercer Price of the second annual Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black women coming up May 16th. I'll tell you a little bit more information about that coming up soon. I'm excited that today we have one of our bonus speakers from the Job Liberation Virtual Summit today, Jacquie Abram. So Jacquie, can you please introduce yourself, please?
Oh, thank you so much. So again, I am Jacquie Abram. I am the international best-selling and award-winning author of Hush Money, How One Woman Proved Systemic Racism in Her Workplace and Kept Her Job. Hush Money, The Cost of Being Black in Corporate America. And our newest and the most powerful book we've written so far, award-winning book as well, #1 Amazon bestseller, Surviving in a Toxic Workplace, Strategies to Help You Protect Your Career. In addition to being an author, I am also a global toxic workplace consultant. I help Black women and, quite frankly, anyone in a toxic job, walk away from those toxic jobs, but not empty-handed with pockets full. I was just telling Dr. Kamani that one of my clients just received a very near close seven-figure settlement. And so when I say we walk away with our pockets full, that's what I mean. In addition to that, I teach a master class, how to fight discrimination in a toxic workplace. And with all of those irons in the fire, I stay really busy, but my heart is full.
Thank you, Jacquie.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start off with talking about, because I've talked a lot about the experience of Black women in the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
And let's talk a little bit more about surviving in the workplace where you're still there, because a lot of my content earlier on has dealt with how to prepare yourself to get out, right? A lot on exit planning, which is important. Yet I also know that a lot of Black women are still in a toxic job and they're not able to just leave right away. So there's a process of getting ready to leave. So can we talk a little bit about why it is important to create this survival plan for ourselves as we're creating that exit plan? And then after that, I'm going to shift and share a surprise with the audience.
Excellent. So, one of the biggest things that I see, especially in my consultancy, so just to talk a little bit about the consultancy, I started the consultancy back in May 2024. And since then, we have helped, my daughter and I have helped over 115, primarily Black women, but again, others as well. We have transgender clients. We have clients experiencing ageism. We have clients experiencing internalized racism from other Black women and other Black people. So, we deal with it all, but we've helped so many of them negotiate very high dollar settlements and severances. This is so important because right now there appears to be a concerted effort, and this is not just in America, Kamani. It is in other countries as well. I've got clients in the UK, Canada, France, Australia, just had someone reach out to me from India. And there is a concerted effort to get Black women out of their high-paying positions, okay? And it's just really sad because I have many clients that earn well over six figures. I've got some clients that earn $450K. I have assistant district attorneys, chief science officers, biotech scientists, chief DEI folks, directors of HR. But then at the opposite end of that, I have clients barely earning $16 an hour. And no matter what country they're in or what position they hold, they're being targeted in the same way. So if you don't know the playbook that is being used, because there is a playbook and they follow it to the T, they follow it to the letter. If you don't know the playbook, then you cannot recognize the warning signs that you're about to be terminated. If you can recognize those signs up front, then there are things we can do to stop them in their tracks so you don't lose that income while you're fighting. And so that's why it's important to learn how to survive in that toxic workplace, because the worst thing you can do is let them set you up, wrongfully terminate you. Now you've lost your income. And yes, you want to fight back, but you're doing it with no income. And as someone who was repeatedly homeless because of that in my own career in higher education, we wanted to show people, don't make the mistakes that we made. Take what we did, but do it while you're in the workplace.
Such good points. So I want to follow up on a couple of those points that you made. One, you said that there are efforts to get Black women out of high-paying positions. Can you please elaborate on that? Because that really counters what so many of us have been told, is that we work really hard, we get the degrees and the certification, and we strive to get these high-paying jobs. So we keep doing things, we strive to get there, but what many of us don't recognize is once we get there, that many times people are trying to undermine us and sabotage us and push us out. Can you elaborate on that, Jacquie?
Absolutely. So let me first start off by saying that when a leader decides to target you, okay, so the higher you go up that corporate ladder, the bigger the target is on your back, okay? And in many cases, when we hold these high-paying positions, there are not a lot of people that look like us in those high-paying positions. So you are automatically easily identified as a target, someone that maybe someone in the company wants to make a name for themselves by taking down someone in a position of power, or there's a change in leadership. I cannot tell you how quickly a change in leadership can derail your career, even if you've been there 16 years, 18 years. If a new leader comes in and that leader does not think that you deserve the position that you hold because you are a Black woman, they will follow the same playbook that everybody else does. And so they will start by inspiring others in the organization to conspire with them using their power, influence, and authority. Because they're smart, they know that two heads are better than one, and they want to create an environment that daily damages your mental health, okay? In order to do that, they need minions. They need people that are going to aid and abet them, so you never get a break from the drama. It is every day. You've got your boss, you've got your employees, you've got somebody in HR, you've got somebody in a different department, but they're all doing all this crap to you every single day. It's back to back to back where you don't get a break. Now, to give you an example, okay, they'll give you equipment. I mean, you've heard me say this a million times. In one of my positions, I'm hired as a senior director. Okay, I'm really good at my job, but you still need to be acclimated to the new company. You still need their equipment, their computer stuff. They'll give you this high-paying job, but then they'll give you equipment that is older than dirt. I am still convinced to this day, Kamani, that the computer system that they gave me to do this very big job as senior director was something they found in an archaeological dig somewhere. It was older than dirt.
So prevented you from even doing your job at that high level.
Yes. So I get this broke down, older than dirt, archaeological dig type of computer. Okay. It's freezing all day long. I can't keep up with the quantity of work that this person over here is doing because they've got the right equipment. I've got broke down equipment. They gave me training, but they intentionally trained me the wrong way. Okay. So they're steering me the wrong direction right out of the gate. So I don't have the right information that I need to get acclimated to their system that this person over here there has. So I'm making mistakes. They're documenting those mistakes. Okay. They're setting me up. They're nitpicking everything I do. I am being micromanaged to a fault. Okay. They're looking for absolutely everything that they can use against me. And even when I'm doing my work flawlessly, then they say there's something wrong with the way I write my emails. I'm too direct. I'm too assertive. I'm too aggressive. So it starts with those little things like that. Okay. They're nitpicking. They're micromanaging you. They're holding you to a standard of Black excellence that is not being applied to the other non-Black people that reports to this leader. So they make mistakes, they're given grace. You make mistakes, you are not given grace. They're holding you to a different standard, meaning they're documenting and using those mistakes that they knew you were going to make because they didn't train you right against you. So you're trying your best to learn your job, okay? Your equipment at work doesn't work. So you're doing your work at home. You know, Kamani, I don't know about you, but I remember days where I would literally fall asleep with my laptop sitting on my lap as I laid in bed, trying to get as much work as I could done because I knew I was going to have problems with the work equipment I had at work.
Yeah.
Have you ever experienced that where you're working all night trying to push yourself to the limit?
Well, that part, not, but I did relate to the being set up for failure.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talked about the change in leadership, when there's a change of leadership, watch out, because now you're really set up in many positions where people are coming for you. So you're really undermined from doing your job. You talked about being micromanaged. You talked about being set up for failure. All those things I absolutely can relate to. Even when you talked about sometimes, you know, nobody's perfect. So if we make mistakes, there's like a highlight on that. But other people make mistakes and it's no big deal. You know, I just look at like what's happening right now in politics, how there's so many people who are failing forward, right? They get fired from this, but then they get promoted to this. But for us, you talk about Black excellence, that we have to be twice as good to get half as much. So even when we're doing these things, but other people around us are failing forward. So it's really an unfair game that we're playing in these environments, and we need to recognize that it is a game. It is a game, and many times it's rigged against us. So at this moment, I just want to pause for a moment, Jacquie, because again, Jacquie is one of our bonus speakers for the virtual summit, and so I want to share something with the audience about the summit, which again is coming up May 16th, and you're going to see Jacquie in this, what I'm going to show in a moment. But really thinking about if this is your experience as a Black woman. You are in the workplace, you are highly qualified, you are doing very well in the workplace, and you recognize that people are undermining you, they're micromanaging you, they're nitpicking, they're doing all these negative things, and it's having an impact on you, then I'm going to show you something that might help you if you are in this situation. So I'm going to share
Are you a Black woman who is looking to make your pivot from a job that's not serving you?
What's happening to them is not the result of unconscious bias. That's a bunch of unconscious BS.
I didn't deserve any of it, and you don't either.
If you've ever been overlooked, boxed in, underpaid, or underestimated, or told to wait your turn,
the people that are working together to destroy your career know exactly what they're doing.
You can't heal in the environment that harmed you. You got to pick up your feet and leave.
We have been led to believe that we have to shrink ourselves to fit into systems that weren't built for us in the first place.
We know, unfortunately, as Black women, a lot of us experience many toxic work environments.
And it does more than just drain our energies. It actually challenges our very essence.
The Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black Women is for you.
it's Prill, and I am
honored to return as your moderator for the 2025 Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black Women.
Katrina Marie here, also known as the Boss Chick Biz Coach. I am here to resuscitate your life and your dreams.
Hey, it's Dr. O'Shea, the Dr. Rethinking.
This is Halisi. I am the co-founder of Our Black Utopia.
I am Kim with the Gems.
Last year, over 300 Black women gathered for what I can only call a moment.
In the session that I'll be facilitating with Liberation and Longevity, we're going to be ensuring wellness beyond the toxic workplace.
And I'm going to be talking about how to get your money right so you can leave that toxic job.
We went from negative 22,000 to over 1.1 million in net worth. I will be talking to you about how you can get your financial act together.
How to maximize your income by leveraging your talent.
I'm Janice Sutherland, CEO of This Woman Can and career strategist for the mature Black woman.
I'm Giovanna Mae Reese, founder of The Hiatus Space, where I help ambitious women set boundaries, reclaim their energy, and live with clarity.
I'm Dr. Kamani. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist of over 20 years. I'm also a toxic job survivor, but more importantly, I'm a toxic job liberator, and I'm co-hosting with Marissa Price the second annual Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black Women.
Alicia Renice, and I am a multi-passionate and healing artist, as well as the founder of Black Girl Creative.
Rashni Cope, a certified life coach, helping Black and West Indian women create whole and healed lives that they love.
Pivot with Power. Changing Careers When You're Over 50. A session designed specifically for Black women over 50 who are ready to reinvent their careers on their terms.
My session, Reclaim Your Breath, a stress relief toolkit for Black women. I am going to teach you how to take that instinctive sigh and turn it into a daily practice.
Afloat yoga is a mix between African dance and yoga. There's so many things in this world that try to dim our light, and we're going to be doing Afloat yoga in ways that protect our light and cultivates our light and really supports our healing.
I want to really dive into how we can recover our creativity, how we can even recover some of our dreams.
Vision Your Liberation will help you reconnect with the woman who is already free.
Hi, my name is Rashida Dow. I am a career break coach.
Anne-Marie of the Anti-HR Consultancy and the Anti-HR channel on YouTube.
Jasmine Williams-Jacobs, founder and director of Black Remote She, which is a community-driven job platform for Black, queer, trans, non-binary people and allies interested in working remotely.
I'm Patrice Williams-Lindo, CEO of Career Nomad and the creator of the RNA Method.
I'm Rashida James. I'm a senior career consultant at Black on the Job.
And I'm going to tell you how to separate who you are from what you do.
How to turn that discriminatory, hostile work environment into the cash and the check that allows you to pursue your freedom.
We'll talk through some of the ways that you can identify workplaces that are having those centered policies that center anti-oppressive principles.
Rebrand and rise. Building your personal brand for a bold career pivot.
Skills pay the bills because your knowledge, skills, and abilities, they're your currency. And it's time to make sure they are paying what you're really worth.
I'm Jacquie Abram, international best-selling and award-winning author, the global toxic workplace consultant, employee advocate, helping Black women all around the world fight the discrimination they're experiencing.
I am Krishan Wright, the founder and chief freedom advocate at Blacksit Global and the host of the Blacksit Global podcast.
I'm Coach Yolanda, certified spiritual life coach and founder of the Evolved Community, an online sanctuary for Black women who are looking to do soul work.
I'm Marissa Price. I am a social worker helping Black women heal from highly traumatic workplace environments and reclaim their self-worth and authenticity.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Perrin. I am the co-founder, co-creator of Exodus Summit and Exodus ASAP.
The warning signs that you need to know that lead to termination.
Passport to Prosperity, how to make money anywhere.
I am pleased to join you to make sure that your minds are liberated.
How to take your power back, how to reclaim your skill set, rebuild your self-worth.
Black women, while you're working on these liberation practices, go ahead and quit that job too.
I was able to say goodbye to corporate America 20 years before they told me that I should be able.
It's never too late. It is never too late.
You're not lost. We are here.
Break free from those golden handcuffs, honey.
Reclaim your value.
If you have a desire for it, there's already a version of you that has it.
It's not about starting over. It's about starting wiser.
It's not simply an event. It is a sanctuary, a movement.
Community is waiting for you. New opportunities are waiting for you. A new horizon is waiting for you.
It is your time to shine.
Your liberation is not just possible, it's divine. and it's waiting on you.
If you would like to attend completely anonymously, that is your right to do so. We look forward to you joining us at the 2025 Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black Women, May 16th through 18th. Register now.
And I hope I see you turning in that letter of resignation. Or girl, just leave, right?
Okay, so I wanted to share that with everyone. I get so hyped every time I see that. I see
Love it.
comments in the chat about I've already registered. Excellent. And for those of you who are not registered, please register as soon as possible. It's coming up soon, May 16th. So again, Jacquie Abram is one of our bonus speakers. So the summit starts May 16th. So you get to see all those speakers you just saw, and there's bonus sessions as well. So Jacquie is one of the bonus speakers. Jacquie, can you briefly tell what you're going to be talking about during the summit?
So I'm basically going to be going through the strategies that are outlined in this book. You know, I'm really excited to say that, like I said, this is probably the best and most powerful book we've ever written. Not only do you get to find out what the playbook is and how each of those pieces work together in an interconnected series of discriminatory and retaliatory events that escalate over time and culminate in wrongful termination. But I show you how I repeatedly fought these different pieces of the playbook. I go into what happened, the trauma, the mistakes that I made, but then I got it right. I give you the templates, the actual emails that I wrote to protect myself, the strategies that I adopted. For example, the E in email stands for evidence and how you apply that particular strategy. The tools, the resources, I mean, they're the amazing tools. You know, I'll give you one example. You know, most people, when they live in a one-party consent state, and we go into that as well, but they know that it's okay for them to secretly record their boss, but they make a mistake and they use their cell phone. So they'll walk into a meeting, they'll flip that cell phone upside down. That's an immediate notification to your boss that you're trying to record them. So one of the resources, and there are many, many different resources listed in this book, and that I'll be going over during the bonus summit training that I'll be giving, is the tools, the resources that I used. My favorite one is this. This cost about $16 at Office Depot, Office Max. Looks like a pen, writes like a pen, acts like a pen. But when you see someone trying to ambush you, you know, let's say you're on your way to the break room and you see your boss clickety-clacketing down the hall towards you to get you in a heated exchange, you can just push the button and it starts recording that conversation.
Brilliant.
It's weight in gold. And they also have pens that have cameras that are so tiny, but the cameras actually capture things as well. Now, I don't recommend using the cameras. I recommend using the one that's just the audio. Wow. $16 it's worth its weight in gold, and the audio quality is fantastic. But this is how you can catch your leaders. And this is just one resource of many that I will be going over during my portion of the bonus sessions.
Oh my gosh. Let me just say that right there shows you just that alone, that bonus session, what you just shared with us, is worth the whole price of the summit.
Yes.
So women, Black women, as you're watching this, if you have not already registered, I see more people coming in saying they're already registered. If you're not already registered, register for the summit to come hear Jacquie as one of our bonus speakers. And if you're already registered, tell other Black women and encourage them to register as well. And again, this is for all Black women, no matter where you are, you're still at the job. You're like, oh, I don't know, it's okay, but I don't know, I'm gonna try to stick it out, to I can't stand this job, get me out of here, to I've already left the job or I've already been laid off. So it's for all Black women. It doesn't matter what your profession, your education level, nothing. Okay, all over the world. This is open to you as a privacy consideration. None of the summit attendees will be seen on camera. Names will not be listed. If you have a question or comment that you want to make, you can change your name in the platform. So don't let that keep you from coming. It is also recorded. So if you cannot come all the days or all the times, you can go back and watch the recording. Okay, so don't let that keep you. The other two bonus speakers are Janice Sutherland, as you saw in the video. Janice Sutherland is talking to Black women over 50 and above, about ways to pivot, because when you get 50, you start thinking, I can't leave, I got to wait till I retire. She's going to talk about that. And then we also have Dr. Roche Brown, who is a Black woman financial psychologist, talking about ways to create your financial exit plan, what to do about your retirement, what to do about your health insurance, because finances is always the biggest thing that keeps us in a toxic job, in addition to concerns about your health insurance and your retirement. Okay. So we have all these brilliant Black women who are pouring into you. So register. Okay. So I digress. So I see a question and it says, legally, can you record others without their permission with the pen?
So when you get this book, and again, it's called Surviving in a Toxic Workplace, Strategies to Help You Protect Your Career, there is a section of this book that goes over one-party consent states. So there are one-party consent states and there are two-party consent states. In a one-party consent state, for example, Colorado and Texas, federal and state law allow you to secretly record any conversations that you are a party to, okay? Now, that's the kicker. You have got to be one of the people in this conversation. You can't be eavesdropping on two people having a conversation and record that, because that is illegal. It's actually a felony. But if you are a person in that conversation and you are in a one-party consent state, then absolutely you can. Now, again, I do not recommend video. Video can get you in a lot of trouble, but having that audio, it is absolutely legal if you are in a one-party consent state. Now, let me just give you a warning. This method works great if you are on site. So let's say you go to work every day, you're in a one-party consent state, you know your boss is in a one-party consent state, you are in one-party consent states together. Works beautifully. It gets very dicey and tricky if you are 100% remote, because these employers that are doing the most to derail your career, their legal counsel also understands these rules. And so you may think, well, I'm in Colorado and my boss lives in Texas. And so she's in Texas and we're having this Zoom or Slack or MS Teams meeting. But they can flip the script on you and say, well, yeah, I live in Texas, but I was on vacation in Florida during this conversation. Florida is a two-party consent state. And two-party overrides one party. So if you are not 100% sure that both of you, whoever's in this call that you're recording, are in one-party consent states, it's best not to do it, because the company will use that as leverage, okay, to dissuade you from coming after them with threats that they're going to go after you and they're going to turn this over to the FBI, okay? So, yes. You want to make sure you're both in one-party consent states. And I give you a full listing of what those states are in my new book. So for $9.99, you'll get a wealth of knowledge in surviving in a toxic workplace. This book right here.
Yeah. So in addition to the book, I think you're already coming to the summit. So we can have some follow-up conversations during the summit. And again, if you're not already registered, this is some of the golden nuggets that you'll get as part of the bonus sessions if you register for one of the bonus sessions.
And that was a great question. Love it.
It was a great question. So Jacquie, and there's so many like intricacies involved with this, which I'm so glad we're having this conversation. So Jacquie, can you speak up, because you talked about what can happen to us in the workplace. And sometimes as Black women, particularly, I would say over 40, generally, there's generally this perception that we need to just stick it out. We need to stick it out, right? And there's some degree of shame on some level of saying, I'm out of here, which is interesting because I interviewed the Awkward Black Nomad recently. She's a millennial, right? And so the perspective was very different about leaving things that don't serve you if your mental health is being impacted. However, what I've noticed is Gen X and above, there's often this perception because of how we were brought up that we have to stay, we have to stick it out. And if we leave something, we're letting them win. We are not strong enough. and buying into that whole Black woman strong Black woman stereotype. Can you speak to ways that we as Black women can reject that shame that some of us may have about choosing to walk away? And I don't know if that was your phone or something, Jackie. There was like some background noise.
Girl, this phone is always going off.
Okay.
I have a lot of people trying to.
I know they want your services.
They
Yeah.
want my services. So let me just first of all add another layer to that, and I cover that in my book. Okay. There are people, so in addition to the warning signs, okay, that you need to watch out for to show you that you are on the verge of being terminated. There are warning signs, and then there's, serious, I'm going to be terminated in 30 days warning signs, okay? And we're going to be covering that during my session in the summit. We're also going to talk about it, when you read my book, because I go into a deep dive into all of these elements of the playbook, and that is one of them. So this is under a section that I call the mask, okay? Because we know that we wear a mask as Black women. We go into these toxic environments and, we have to smile or they think we're not approachable.
Right.
We have to laugh even when we want to cry. We have to deal with everything that is happening to us. But my book exposes the other masks that are being worn, not just by us, but by our toxic leaders. And so we'll go into deep detail in that when we have our session in the summit. But
I cannot wait.
Yeah, it's also covered in my book. But let me just address that particular question. People don't just stay in a toxic job because of the shame. That's one reason. But many people, I'll use my mom as an example. I was raised in extreme poverty. Just to give you an idea of what that looked like, we didn't have carpet, so my mom would take us trash surfing. And she would put me in the trash bins behind these carpet stores. I would collect those scraps of carpet, hand them to my mom, and then we'd take them home and we would sew all of those little scraps. It didn't matter what color, shape, or size they were. And we would sew them until we had enough to carpet our floor. I wanted earrings, so mom pierced my ears with a clothespin to numb it, ice, a needle, okay, and then straw that she broke off from the broom, burned on both ends and slid them into the holes in my ear. I didn't have cookies. I had dog biscuits that, I ate. I thought they were absolutely delicious because, we didn't have cookies. That's what I mean when I say we lived in poverty. So if you think about mom, I'll use my mom as an example. Mom was dealing with the most heinous, vilest forms of discrimination that you can imagine. And she was afraid to walk away. So she adopted the model, don't make waves, okay? Mom said, don't make waves, because she was afraid of confronting the toxic leaders that could take the little bit of security that she had with this job away from her, and so this job allowed us to have something, okay? And when we were able to stop tearing up the pages and the yellow pages in the and putting them in the bathroom to use in place of toilet tissue, and mom could afford toilet tissue, and she could afford real cookies, and she couldn't afford a carpet, but she could afford smaller carpets that were all the same size and color. She didn't want to risk confronting the systems that could easily take the little bit of security that she had away. Does that make sense?
Survival mode.
So don't make waves was not a sign of shame or weakness for her. It was a strategy born out of survival.
Yes. And I think many Black women, in terms of economically, may be in survival mode. And I think another thing is we may actually have the economic resources, yet we've been programmed, Gen X and above, we've been programmed that you stay at these good jobs with the good benefits and you stay until you retire, because if you don't, you're going to end up homeless. And so many of us have had that poured into us as we were growing up. So even though we might have the economic resources,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
We still have the memory of what our family, our parents have told us. So in many ways, we're in this, like, your mom was in survival mode to do
Yes.
the best she could. And it
Yes.
sounds like you all went through a lot, and mom really tried her best to
Mm-hmm.
provide the best she could in
Right.
survival mode. And one of the ways you said she was surviving was that she was fawning, right? Like, I don't want to cause too many attention to me. I don't want to cause any rifts. I just want to just let it be, right?
Yes.
And I
Yes.
think for many of us now as Black women, I think there's a little different dynamic what we're dealing with when we're perceiving the danger. So we're in the workplace, just like what you talked about, Jackie. I think so many of us experience this, the micromanaging, the throwing under the bus, the undermining of you doing your job.
The
So,
taking the credit for your work.
oh, yes. Okay. Oh, yes.
Yes.
So when we are in these environments, we perceive that our psychological safety has been compromised. We are perceiving that, and accurately so. Okay. So when we're in that situation, we're thinking, I'm in survival mode because are they going to try to push me out this job? Am I going to not get this promotion? What's happening? So that psychological safety is compromised. So for us, I think what's happening is, and again, I'm going to go into this biological breakdown, that I think what's happening to us is that we are recognized we're in a dangerous situation. So now our amygdala is activated in our brain, and our amygdala is like telling us, fight, flight, or freeze, fight, flight, or freeze, you're in danger. So it sounds like your mom, she perceived danger in a different way, survival in a different way. So her response was fawn. I think a lot of Black women we're seeing right now is the fight, flight, or freeze, and most of them are freezing. Most of us are freezing. So when I was in that situation, I was like freezing, like, this is happening. Let me just stay put. Let me see, I think a lot of us are in that situation, but when we're in survival mode, it's very hard for us to access our prefrontal cortex, where we organize, we plan, and we utilize our judgment. So my hope is that, Jackie, that when we're in the summit all together, that we're coming together as a summit, participants and speakers and sponsors, that as we're there, that we can turn down that survival brain so we can access that prefrontal cortex and plan, organize, and judge. So when we talk about, the shame, I think it's important. One of the ways I think we can work through that as Black women now is recognizing all the factors that contribute to why we feel like we need to stay at a toxic job, right? And recognizing what are the forces, the family members, the friends, them telling us that we have to stay at a toxic job, and their insinuation or comments that if we leave, there's something wrong with us. So if we recognize the source of that, I think that would be a big hurdle. What are your thoughts about that?
Oh, I absolutely agree. But I also agree that, for me, for example, I recognized early on that, I'll give you an example, a white person, okay, they can find themselves in a toxic job, right?
Right.
And they can leave that toxic job. And then, like you said, with the failing forward, 2 weeks later, they have found another job that pays them even more, and they've got a high. Okay. It's not that easy for Black folks. Okay.
Yes.
And so I experienced that in my career in higher education, but I also knew that I was exceptional at fighting back. Okay. I knew how to fight back, and I knew how to get those 6-figure settlements. Okay. Now I'm helping people get very close to 7 figures, which is absolutely mind blowing. Mind blowing. But I recognized that I had this skill. And so I decided that if these people, because I'm running from company to company to company, okay, looking for a place where I can not just survive working while Black, that I can actually thrive. And I kept encountering the same playbook. So if you looked at my resume, it looked like I was job hopping, that I was not, somebody who stayed in companies long term. And, employers frown upon that, but they don't understand the underlying reason I can't stay in this job. So what I did was I said, okay, since I obviously cannot succeed in this America the way it is, because the first thing these people notice about me before they notice anything that I bring to the table skill-wise is they notice I'm Black. And if
Mhm.
you're not going to let me succeed, well, I'm going to go in there, but I'm going to be prepared for when they start messing with me. And
Mhm.
I know that from that minute they start messing from me, 7 months later, I'm going to have a 6-figure settlement and somebody or somebodies are going to be fired. And
Mhm.
so that was the approach I took. And then I got all these I got multiple 6-figure settlements, but
Mhm.
it gave me the seed money,
Mhm.
okay? The
Mhm.
seed money that I needed to walk away from that shit, okay? And
Mhm.
now do the work that I'm doing to
Yeah.
help other people do the same. So
Yes.
that was the strategy I adopted. I said,
Yes.
okay, I have no intention of staying in the corporate plantation long term.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay long enough to get the seed money that I need, okay,
Yeah.
taking down toxic leaders along the way
Mhm.
until I'm ready to get out of there and
Yeah.
use that seed money to do what I do now.
Absolutely. And I see a comment in the chat. The good news is now we have these useful resources and liberators. Yes. So Jackie is a liberator. I'm a liberator. Marissa's a liberator. We have liberators amongst us. And that was such a beautiful example of how you talked about ways that you went through things, but you tapped into skills that you had to navigate and to really negotiate to go to better situations. So
Yes.
that is such a beautiful example of ways as Black women that we are able to pivot. So we don't have to stay in environments, even though it can be fearful and all those things, but we're able to effectively pivot out. So Jackie, I know in our previous discussions, because you've been my guest before, that we've talked about the impact, because I love what you're saying in terms of for Black women to know there's a way out. Because when we're in these environments, it can make us go into like a tunnel vision. So we get a tunnel vision and we can't see a way out. So that was beautiful how you talked about how you were able to pivot out and how you help other Black women pivot out. And I see a comment in the chat, how do people get to 7 figures? Sis, you need to come to the summit. Let's come to the summit or book a call with Jackie so she can share with you about how to get the 7 figures. Okay. So
And let me just say, this is literally the very first time that I've gotten someone nearly a 7 figures. So I did a full post on it. She's a doctor. She gave me permission to share her conversation with me on LinkedIn. I just had to redact it to remove her identifying information. But she notified me because I don't do the work for you. Okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't help you if I'm doing everything and you're not learning anything. When you journey with me, I am working through you. Your company never knows that I even exist. I work in the shadows. I'm doing everything in the background, but I'm teaching you. You're learning from me because what we experience is not a one-time thing. And so I want to strengthen your skills. I want to strengthen your voice. I want to empower you, knowing that you will encounter this again. I worked in numerous toxic environments, but I never walked away from a single toxic job empty-handed. I got multiple large settlements, multiple 6-figure settlements. And so that's what I teach people. I don't just do the work for you and take over your voice. You are strengthened by the time you start working with me from day one.
Yeah. So you have the skills, the tools to utilize so you can advocate for yourself and get that. Okay. So Jackie, again, let's take a step back. So for people who have not watched our previous videos, maybe they haven't seen you on LinkedIn, even though you are very active on LinkedIn. And Marissa and I are going to be interviewed by Jackie on LinkedIn. So keep an eye out for that. So for those people who are not familiar with your story, can you give just a high-level overview of your experiences in toxic jobs and how it impacted you physically and psychologically?
I'll just read you a little bit from chapter 1 of my new book as I go into a deep dive there. Chapter 1 is called Hush Money, okay? And you just stop me when I'm reading if you want to pivot to another topic, okay? So it starts like this. I never knew the cost of being Black in corporate America, the price I would pay with my dignity and fundamental rights as a human being, just to have a job that wasn't in a low-income sector. a job that had a satisfying career path and gave me and my family a chance to live the American dream. But if I knew then what I know now, maybe I would have done things differently before taking the job that traumatized and nearly destroyed me. Maybe I would have bleached my dark skin to make it lighter, or removed my long dookie braids to straighten my hair. Maybe I would have bought blue contacts to hide my brown eyes and got a nose job with a butt reduction too. You know, do all the things I woulda, shoulda, coulda done to look less like me and more like them, just to fit into a mold I had no part in creating. No, I know me. And even if I could go back in time to that fateful day that changed my life in the worst way, I wouldn't change a thing, because I'm the strong, beautiful Black woman God created me to be. Dookie braids, big butt, dark skin and all. I'm Jacquie Abram. My daughters, Deborah, Delilah, and I are the international best-selling and award-winning authors of Hush Money. I've been featured in Forbes, on Spectrum News, and on ABC Affiliate, among other. Like you, I began my career in higher education, filled with ambition, hope, and determination, believing that my skills and abilities would guarantee my success. I was a pillar of confidence, a 6-foot-tall Janet Jackson lookalike, with a smile that could sink 1,000 ships, and a walk that could literally stop traffic. I was a Wonder Woman, my own Amazon, okay? With legs for miles and a warrior spirit burning deep inside me. It was that fire, that passion, that drive that fueled my rise up the ladder of success. And rise I did. I earned promotion after promotion, my work ethic and performance speaking louder than words ever could. And I climbed the ladder of success, not because of favoritism or privilege, but because of the exceptional way that I performed my job. However, as I continued to reach new heights in my career based on my skills and abilities, a change in leadership caused someone in the organization who wasn't there when I was hired to notice me. Someone who was not only in a higher position than mine, but who was also a toxic leader, who didn't believe I deserved the position that I held because I was a Black woman. When this leader began targeting me, she used the power, influence, and authority of her position to inspire others in the organization to conspire against me. Before long, I wasn't dealing with one leader targeting me anymore. I was now dealing with people, a whole lot of people, who were all working together to destroy my career. Sadly, that was just the beginning. In the years that followed, I ran from one company to the next, trying to find a place where I could not only survive working while Black, but also thrive. But here's the problem. I ran from the first company because I was Black. And when I ran to the next company, guess what? I was still Black. And although the companies were different, the playbook that each toxic leader used was the same. Their coordinated efforts were devastatingly effective and repeatedly left me jobless, homeless, and struggling to provide for my 2 girls as a single mom. As I'm sure you can imagine, they also left me broken and traumatized to such a degree that I may never fully recover. Many Black women speak about the psychological trauma caused by toxic jobs, and I'm no exception because the trauma is real. But for me specifically, the physical trauma, hair loss, fibroids, and 100 pounds of weight gain was even more devastating and took a toll on me that went beyond anything I imagined I could possibly endure. At 6 feet tall, I never blended in anywhere. I always stood out. But standing out as a 6-foot-tall Janet Jackson lookalike was a lot different than standing out as a 6-foot-tall version of Medea. And I just cannot tell you, I cannot begin to describe the hurtful things that were not only said about me, but also to me. One of the milder examples occurred when a Latina colleague cruelly muttered Jabba the Hutt in Spanish as I walked by. Another person commented on a post I made stating, "You should do some sports and stop eating American shitty fast food so you won't be an obese whale." and maybe people would stop making fun of you. In many ways, the physical trauma exacerbated the psychological trauma I was experiencing. And I found myself standing on the edge of the ocean at Salt Creek Beach on the verge of committing suicide by drowning. Now, every year there is a video that I put on LinkedIn because I recorded that moment. I went to the beach and I recorded that moment that I planned to commit suicide. And so you can see the wave coming at me in this video, and you can see the surfers riding those intense waves. But then you also see me panic, and I ran, Kamani. So you see me running away from these waves that are coming at me, and I turn around just as the water starts rushing upon me. So I went back the next day to try again because I didn't learn to swim. I still don't know how to swim. But when I closed my eyes so I wouldn't see the wave rushing upon me, so I wouldn't fear it and run away, that's when God intervened. And he told me, you're not going into the sea, okay? He said, your mini-me, your Delilah that follows you in every way, if you go into the sea, she will follow you, okay? And in that moment, I saw Whitney Houston and her daughter.
Oh, that is so profound. Oh my gosh.
It was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But then my daughter called me, you know, as I'm having this surreal moment, and I can hear God talking to me. And my daughter called me. And that's when I realized for the first time that my Lila, my mini-me, was experiencing the exact same thing that I was dealing with in a different state. Okay. And so that's when God stopped me, and he said, if you go into the sea, she will follow you because she's dealing with the same thing, and she don't know how to fight, but you do. And so that's when God said, you're not going to kill yourself. You're going to take this pain and the trauma and you're going to turn it into power for others to yield, to teach them and save lives. I'm actually saving lives with the work that I'm doing, okay? I could read you the most gut-wrenching. I get these messages every day, and 2 days before the client, who was the doctor, messaged me that they settled for nearly 7 figures, and she wanted to know if there was another Black woman who needed help but couldn't afford to pay my fee. Okay. She wanted to pay it forward by paying that person's fee. And 2 days before that, another doctor, but not a doctor of a medical, in a medical facility. This was a doctor of education in higher ed. If I read you that message, I mean, it was just gut-wrenching. If you have time, I'll read it to you. But this is what happened to me. This is how I started on a path to doing the work that I'm doing. God said, no.
Right.
You have to help others who are experiencing the same thing. Because the lady 2 days before my client told me about her wonderful settlement, this lady met with me and she said they retaliated against me by firing my husband, who also worked there.
Oh my goodness.
He was a adjunct faculty.
Okay.
And now they were setting her up. And she said, if we lose our home that we've had for 24 years, I don't want to live anymore.
Oh, wow. You know what? Let me say something. First, thank you for sharing that powerful testimony. Thank you so much. And I'm glad you heard the voice of God say that to you. And I see in the comments, someone said, if you decide to do audio of the book, you ought to read it yourself, because that was so powerful. And, you know, you sharing that was such a poignant example of how extreme and profound these workplace traumas can have on our lives.
Yes.
It could be very profound. And so when we think about all the different symptoms that we're experiencing, we need to pay attention to this, because it can lead to suicidal thoughts, or suicidal behaviors. We saw also what happened with Dr. Antoinette Bonnie Candia Bailey. So that's why it's so important for us to be aware of this for ourselves, but also for us to have a space to talk about it too. Because sometimes in our community, we say we can't talk about things like this. This doesn't happen to us. Yes, it does.
Right.
Yes, it does. So being able to talk about it is so liberating too.
Well, it's liberating, and I go into that in my book as well. The reason people don't think we should talk about it is because of the strong Black woman BS, okay? Where we have been conditioned to believe that we have to be strong, we can face anything, we can deal with anything. There was a commercial from years ago, we can bring home the bacon and fry it up in the pan.
I remember that.
Right?
But you're a woman, right?
Right. But we're a Black woman. We can
Right.
do it all. We don't have emotions like everybody else.
Uh-huh.
I mean, think about it, Dr. Kamani. When have you ever in your life heard somebody say, "Ooh, look, that's a strong white woman over there." Okay, that's a strong Asian woman over there. Okay, you don't hear that because they get to be delicate, they get to be soft, they get to be demure.
And it reminds me of the live you did, right? You told me about white teeth. Can you tell the audience about that live you did and how powerful it was? Because it really speaks to how, as Black women, we're often dehumanized in the workplace. We
Yes.
are expected to be the strong Black woman and to take everything. And there's a different set of rules for us. So other people can do certain things. But if we do certain things, or if we're perceived in a certain way, then it's a problem, and we have to protect other people, and we have to coddle other people. So can you talk a little bit about the live you did recently on LinkedIn?
So I did a live event with two of the most amazing Black women that I have ever met. I mean, just so much love for these women. One of them, her name is Ngozi, and the other one's name is Ruth. And so we put together a LinkedIn live event called White Tears and Black Trauma. And, we knew that this was a topic that a lot of people wanted to talk about, but sometimes we think having these conversations is it's putting our dirty laundry out there. We shouldn't be talking about this. We shouldn't be, they want us to stay silent, right?
True.
So we put it out there, and do you know 5,133 people registered to attend that event? And it was the most powerful conversation it was just powerful. We went from talking about everything from, the weaponization of white tears and how, you can, be assertive and speak about your experiences in the workplace. And all that white woman has to do is turn on those tears. And all of a sudden, what you're experiencing gets buried under a sea of fake tears. Okay. And now you're being looked at as the angry Black woman. You're being looked at as the problem. Your job is at risk. They're being protected. They're being given Kleenex and tissue and mollycoddled. And it's that dynamic that, you don't get to be soft. And so.
Well, you're seen as the aggressor. Like, you caused the problem. You caused the cry. Never mind what she has done to insinuate things. Or let's say you're just literally doing your job. You're literally doing your job, or you're maybe holding people accountable, but you get labeled as you're hurting people, you're vilifying, you're vilified basically in a situation.
That's right. And if you think about it, I mean, Malcolm X said it best, the most disrespected, unprotected, and neglected person in America, but I've learned this is actually all over the world, okay, is the Black woman. But see, in that live that we did, it was so powerful. We segued from white tears and Black trauma to, what if the very person neglecting, unprotecting, and disrespecting the Black woman is another Black woman? And we talked about that at length.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so it was just a very, very powerful, validating, vulnerable, incredible conversation. The best live event I have ever done.
Wow. And I'm going to put the link to that video
Very
in the
good.
description section so everybody can watch that. Okay. I'm going to watch it too. Okay.
Oh,
So I'm going to
excellent,
put that
excellent.
description section so you can watch it. So it's interesting, Jackie, as I'm listening to you talk, you talked about, when you read about your experience in the workplace, what it's like to have people conspire against you. So you have the one so-called ringleader who is like a puppeteer, and you have all these minions who are really trying to undermine you, and it
Yes.
takes a significant toll on you. You also talked about the healing from a toxic job happens over time. So I'm still healing. The healing is an ongoing process because you continually have triggers about
Yes.
the job, even though we're in much better positions now
Mhm.
that we've left the job, but it's still a trauma trigger. So for us to put that out there. The other thing I heard you say when you were describing was you thought if you can contort yourself in some ways. I think a lot of Black women were trying to contort ourselves.
Girl, people, including me, okay, I'm gonna just put it out there, including me. Do you know how much money I spent over the years buying Ambi? Trying to lighten my skin. So, ridiculous. You have people using straight bleach, okay, trying to lighten there was a video, and I mean I saw these a group of white girls. They were young girls, like maybe in junior high or high school. And you may have to try and find that video. But this is when I was still working in higher education. There were a group of white girls at a restaurant that I was eating at, and they were just cracking up. I mean, they were just laughing their heart out. They had found a video on YouTube of a Black woman, okay? And the Black woman had got just straight white paint, like the kind of white paint that you paint the walls in your house in. And she was painting over her body and saying, I gotta hide the N-word. She was saying, you can't have any N-word showing on me. I'm a Ronald McDonald my ass because they ain't gonna get. And she's painting her whole body.
Oh, how sad.
Oh, it was just gut wrenching.
Wow.
And she's painting herself white, and as she's recording this, she's saying, you got to hide all the N-word.
Oh my God. You talk about internalized racism.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. And so I don't know if that video is still out there. This was years ago, but it was just gut wrenching because they thought she was doing it to be funny.
Wow.
But I knew this woman is serious.
Yeah, struggling. And what I appreciate what you said was trying to contort yourself in so many different ways, as many of us do, but you can't contort yourself. You can't outrun racism and sexism in the workplace.
No, you
Just white supremacy, you can't outrun it. The other thing I appreciated you talked about was sometimes in the workplace, we assume that when we're talking about toxic work environments, that we're talking about Black and white.
Yes.
So Black person, we're the person, and then it's a white person doing this. Sometimes it may be a white person, sometimes it may not be a white person. So the white supremacy is for everybody.
Yes.
So if you're internalizing the white supremacist actions, you could be another Black person, you could be a Latina, you could be Asian, you could be anything.
Yes,
so it's
Indian.
it's not necessarily Black and white. We're looking at white supremacist actions in the workplace. Yes.
It's the people who have, they have adopted this white supremacist attitude. And so, a lot of my clients, believe it or not, they're actually in the workplace. Their careers are being derailed by other Black women who uphold that white supremacist ideology. I'll give you an example of one of my clients that got a really nice 6-figure settlement. Her tormentor, was a Black woman, but she put more value on white lives and lives that were closer to that Euro appearance. Okay,
social hierarchy.
Yeah, than others. And so, if she wasn't just discriminating against Black women, she was discriminating against anyone who didn't have that close relation to that Euro appearance. Okay.
Wow.
And so she would come into the office and she would just be like, oh, my white husband and my biracial children. And she would put them on such a pedestal. And the white employees that she had, she treated very well. The Asian, the blacks, and there was one Indian woman on her team. She treated them just ridiculously heinous, all of them. Okay, all of them. And so you have folks like that. If they believe, if they've got some mental way of thinking that, Black is bad and is inferior, even though they themselves are Black.
Internalized racism. Yep.
Yes. They will discriminate against you for being Black. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, the good news is the EEOC, okay, and the state civil rights agencies. And, I have a lot of clients in the UK, so the tribunal, they recognize internalized racism, and it's something you can actually fight. See, a lot of folks that do that, they're under the misconception that, you can't say that I'm discriminating against you because I'm Black and you're Black. And they're wrong, okay?
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah. And I just want to say, I'm so glad you said that. I'll say another comment. Other Black women can be just as horrific as others, devastating to behold and experience. Yes. So when another Black woman does this to you in the workplace, it is outrageous, right? So you're like, wait a minute, sis, what are you doing? Like we both have a common history. We're not all the same. We have a common history. We both know what we deal with as Black people. So when you do something like that, it just feels like the ultimate betrayal. And it really takes the pain to a whole nother level, because you're like, you should know better. The other thing I wanted to say is that when you talked about the issues about EOC and protected class, and can another Black person be discriminatory towards another Black person or protect, we're going to talk about that next week. Actually, we're going to have an employment and labor attorney on next week. So check it out. And then another comment, Sally, my most toxic boss was a Black woman. She did one thing right after the other. She got hired. But after that, it was hell on earth. Thankfully, she was fired from multiple infractions. Yes. It says, I hope that you are able to heal from that in terms of getting the support you need and recognize it what it is, because it sounds like you're able to call it out for what it is. And also know that healing from that situation, that encounter, may take time. It may need some support from therapy as well, because it can be very deep-seated when the other person doing this is another Black woman. So, Jackie.
And if I may just add one more thing to that, there is, and I talk about that in my book, that is under a section that I call Black on Black Divide and Conquer, okay? The companies do this on purpose when you're in a toxic environment, okay? It goes back to slavery, you know. They want to get this Black person out of their position. So they task a Black person, okay? They give that Black person extra power if they don't already have it, or they hire that Black person with the intention of, okay, I hired you, now I want you to deal with this Black person, because they want to keep their hands clean.
Right.
They don't want to be accused of discriminating. But also they don't want Black people coming together, because when Black people come together and they start realizing their strengths and that their experiences are similar, they can rise up together and do more damage as a collective. So they want to divide and conquer them. They want to pit them against each other so they can never come together as a collective to take down this leader.
So true. It's so true. It's so true. Divide and conquer. There's so many parallels that we see in enslavement and colonization in the workplace. And so some Black people who are deeply insecure fall into the trap. So they don't recognize that they're being manipulated by this person trying to take down another Black person. They don't understand that. But what's so sad for them is that eventually it's going to come back around and get them too. They don't understand that. What they're saying is short term, oh, I could take this person down and now I might get this promotion or I might get special favor. It's temporary. It's temporary.
I mean,
it's going to come back and get you.
Dr. Kamani, and this isn't a funny subject, but it is really kind of funny to me. I'll be honest with you. We're seeing this play out in politics, when a certain somebody who I'm going to not mention, but a certain somebody was running and leading up to, taking over, the administration.
Yes.
Oh, he was all about, and I'm going to do so much for the Black community, and I'm going to do, how many Black people do you see in positions of power, in this
cabinets?
I mean, ridiculous, right?
Right. And they sold their souls.
I mean, absolutely they did. And that's what happens, They will use you until they don't need you.
Exactly.
And then they turn their sights
on you. Just like the N-word.
Oh,
right? So
the new N-word is DEI.
Oh, right. That's DEI hire, right? And you're gone. You're like, wait a minute. I tried to help you out. I thought, girl, no, they're not looking out for you.
No.
So, Jacquie, if there's a Black woman watching right now, and she can resonate with our discussion right now, and she is, let's say, in a toxic job, and she's listening to this conversation, she can resonate with what was shared, but she's saying to herself, I hear you, but I can't make an exit plan because I have to stay at this job because I have kids.
Right.
And I'm a single mother. Maybe I need to stay here till I retire, or maybe there's no other place for me to go because all jobs are toxic. I'm gonna try to stick it out, and I'm gonna try to fight these people, and I'm not gonna let them win. What would you say to her? What words of wisdom could you offer to her?
I would say, number one, you need to read this book, Surviving in a Toxic Workplace, Strategies to Help You Protect Your Career, Because back in my mom's time, you could just stay off the grid. You could just stay off the radar. You could suffer in silence and not make waves, and you could stay on your job. You cannot do that anymore. They will not let you. They will target you, and they will set you up, and they will get you out of your position, whether you're vocal or not, whether you fight or you don't.
True.
That's sadly what a lot of people are seeing. And so I'm going to just drop one nugget, and I've got many, many, many nuggets in this book. There are many, many warnings that you are being set up to be terminated, and not in the distant future. I'm talking within 30 to 60 days.
Wow.
There are warnings that will show you I'm about to be fired. So let me just drop a few of those on you, okay?
Oh, yes.
You got to read this book. I go into the entire playbook in this book. So I'm telling you right out of the book, okay? So if there's anyone listening, and their duties, are slowly being removed. So you started out having these responsibilities, and now you're noticing those duties are being removed from your plate, and either being given to someone else or they're just being taken. You are going to be terminated in about 30 days,
Wow.
If you are being excluded, excluded from meetings that you used to attend, and now all of a sudden you are not attending those meetings anymore, you are going to be terminated in about 30 days, If you were put on a PIP, a performance improvement plan recently, or you were written up, or they gave you a verbal warning that you're in trouble, you are going to be terminated in 30 days, If your trauma is so overwhelming from what you're experiencing, and you go on FMLA to give yourself a breather, hoping things will calm down when you return, you are going to be terminated within 30 days from the date you return, because you've given your company the alone time to finish setting you up.
Wow.
So when you return from FMLA, they're ready for you. So I can show you how to stop them in their tracks, so that when you return, or when they give you that PIP, or when they think they're going to fire you, they will be afraid to touch you because of what I do. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't just do this work to help people walk away with their pockets full. I do this work to get people fired. My methods are designed to get people fired also.
Mm.
So you get taken care of, but I give enough I get enough incentive, enough motivation for them to go back and deal with the people that caused this situation involving you.
So we're talking about like wrongful termination?
Oh, I'm talking about they're going to deal with those people that did this to you, the ones that were discriminating and retaliating and setting you up and falsely accusing you of unethical things and harassment. And then they wrongfully terminated you, or they're trying to wrongfully terminate you. When I go after a company through you, my methods are not only designed to make you whole in most cases, okay? I can't help everybody, okay? But I do have a big track record. I have a huge track record of success. I just wish I could do it for everyone. Sometimes I'm not successful, but I do have a strong record of success, okay?
Okay.
Now, when this happens, those people, because when you force them to go deep into their pockets, their insurance companies frown upon that, okay? Their rates go up because they have insurance policies. And then they go back and deal with the people that caused them to
you make them lose money.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And that's what gave me satisfaction, getting those toxic leaders out of that company so the next Black person would not fall prey to what they did to you.
Good. So Jacquie, how can, in addition to Black women seeing you at the virtual summit as a bonus speaker, in addition to reading your book, your current book and your other books, how can Black women work with you? How would they go about reaching you?
So the best way to reach me, I'm going to go ahead and just give you my phone number right now. You can call me.
Really, Jacquie?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So you can call 719-582-6803. If I don't answer, leave me a message or text me. If your situation is urgent and you feel that they're going to terminate you in 30 days, okay, you need to let me know that. Now, here's the thing. I have a lot of people contacting me, okay, but you will get a response. Now, I will not charge you a consultation fee, but you have to have spent $9.99 USD and bought this book and have started reading it by the time we meet, okay? Because I need you to get up to speed on what we're dealing with. I need to open your eyes to the playbook and what's happening to you and how you got in this situation, and more importantly, the strategy that we're going to use to get you out of it, okay?
Okay, so it's almost like pre-work. So if you book a consultation, you need to do the pre-work of reading the book.
If you want to meet with me without paying a consultation fee, because my consultation fee is $100 USD, but I waive that if you do the work and you spend $9.99 and start reading this book by the time our meeting. So when the meeting comes up, I should be able to see that you are already learning.
Got it. Okay. And I see someone in the chat said, the book and summit sound like beautiful investments. I'm excited. Yes. So both are investments. And can you talk just a little bit, Jacquie, about the concept of investments for Black women, like your book, like the summit, and why it's important for us to invest in ourselves?
It's important because oftentimes we put ourselves last. I mean, everyone comes before us. Have you noticed that?
True.
You know, we will work ourselves almost into the ground, you know, and we can feel that our bodies are giving out. We can feel that we're exhausted. We can feel that we're tired. We're weary, you know, we're broken. But we will still give all of ourselves to everybody else, our children, our loved ones, our spouses, our partners. And we always
our jobs.
Our jobs. I mean, everything. You have to make a shift, and you've got to say, you know what? I am a beautiful Black woman and I deserve to be first.
True.
Okay. And
And I think
invest
they're
in
better than to be
yeah,
harmed in any environment or any
that's right.
situation.
That's
Yes.
right. And that's why it's so important for us to shift that mindset, because unfortunately, many of us have been programmed to think that we are that, that strong Black woman. Remember when I was reading my story, I said I was a Wonder Woman. I was my own Amazon.
Mhm.
That's not a compliment. I'm thinking
Right.
I'm Superwoman, okay? And we're not.
No, no.
Mm.
Those stereotypes end up harming us.
They
So
do.
part of it is that we think that embracing the stereotype, we own it as if that means we're super. No, it ends up hurting us. And I
Yeah.
see some comments in the chat I want to read to you, Jackie. So they like the title of your book and the chapter to what you just read to us, Black on Black Divide and Conquer. Yes. Ooh, tokens get spent.
Yes.
So true.
Ooh,
So
I
true.
love that.
Tokens get
Yes.
spent. Yes,
I
they do.
love that.
Yes. Talking about student loans.
Mhm.
Let's see what else. All this happened to me, so they can relate to what you're saying.
Yes.
One of our YouTube channel members from my Butterfly YouTube membership community said, Jackie is bringing all the facts. Yes, she is.
Yay.
Going
Thank
on
you.
FMLA in a week, I'll get the book. Yes. Get
Yay.
the book, get prepared, come to the summit, because what we're talking about is for us as Black women about ways to get prepared. Get
Yes.
prepared so that when things start happening crazy in the workplace, that you are prepared and you know about your different options. We
Yes.
need to always be aware of what our different options are. Plan A, B, C, and D. We need to have those ready. And so investing in yourself, getting the book, getting Jackie's other books, coming to the virtual summit, getting
Yes.
the bonus session so that you will be able to learn more from Jackie and all the other bonus speakers. These are investments so that we are prepared. I see a question. Are there any takeaways from the book if you're not in a toxic job?
Okay. So it's equally as important for people who are not in a toxic job, okay? But know people who are, okay? To be able to give them that guidance and wisdom. So you can't help someone if your eyes are not open to what's going on, okay? How can you help someone that you know, a sister, a cousin, a loved one, a friend who is in that environment? They're coming to you, they're telling you what's happening to them, and you can't help them because you can't see what they're experiencing. And so that's where the strength in having read this book, and more importantly, understanding the playbook that is being used right now. Because I mean, Black women are being driven out of their positions in droves right now.
Yeah, yeah.
In
And can I
droves.
say something? And the thing about it, this is the trigger. This is the kicker that kind of trips us up as Black women, is that you might be in a high profile position. You may be doing very, very, very well, doing your job very well. And you cannot understand why they're coming for you. You may
Right.
have excellent job evaluations. You might be put in a leadership position. It's not going to make logical sense. That's the part that trips us up. We start trying to figure out, wait a minute, well, let me have a meeting with this person and let me try to figure this out and let me go to HR and let me do all stuff, right? What
Right.
we're saying here is that it may not make logical sense, but we still need to be prepared because they can be conspiring against you. It doesn't matter what your work performance are because they don't really care. They really don't care about the work you're doing. They just really are trying to exploit your labor. But
That's
once you
right.
so-called get out of your place or you make people look bad in some kind of way because you're outshining and you're outperforming them, you got to go. So it's not going to make logical sense. And my dear friend Colette Elizabeth said 3 things that I want us to remember. She said, in the workplace, watch out for people who are incompetent, insecure, immature. Okay.
Yes.
When you see those 3 qualities, you need to start exit planning. Now, don't tell your coworkers that you exit planning. Just start getting ready so you can stay ready, so you can be ready. So when things go down, you'll be able to pivot and pivot out and pivot well.
That's right. I love
Yeah.
it. Powerful.
Yes. Okay. So we're about to wound down, everyone. So thank you so much for watching. Register for the summit. Again, it's May 16th.
I would
Jackie-
love to see you in my
Yes.
session.
Jackie is one of our bonus speakers. As I
Yay.
mentioned before, that privacy consideration, no summit attendees will be seen on camera. names will not be listed. If you have a question or comment that you want to make, you can change your name in the platform. I will put all of Jackie's information in the description section of this video so you can check it out. I'll also put the link to the video that she talked about before in the description section as well. So Jackie, any last words to the audience before we wind down for today?
Excellent. I would love to see you in the summit. I will answer questions. We will talk about strategies. There's so much more you need to know in order to navigate these toxic environments. And, I'll tell you, the company doesn't have to prove that they're innocent, okay? If you want to get those big dollar settlements, you have to be able to prove that they're guilty. And the only way that you can do that is to learn how to set these companies up and to collect the evidence. And I teach all of that in my book, and to stay one step ahead of them, because timing is everything.
Absolutely.
If they get to you before you get to them, then it looks like you're retaliating against them. So that's why you want to recognize those early signs, okay? And that's what you'll learn from me in my session of the summit. That's what you'll learn by reading the book. And then if you want to meet with me about your specific situation, I gave you my phone number. But if you're not following me on LinkedIn, LinkedIn is where I live. 99% of my business comes from LinkedIn. So there's a lot of content that I put out there, a lot of content that you're not seeing anywhere else but LinkedIn. So go on LinkedIn, follow me. You can see how my name is spelled. And then let's get you up to speed and get you going in the right direction, because it doesn't have to end, with you losing your job and risking homelessness. And I do have clients, Kamani, that they're not interested in a settlement. I have a client in the UK who didn't want to leave her job. She just wanted to get away from her nightmarish boss, okay? So I'm happy to report that we were able to get her the outcome she sought, which was she's still in her job, and she's happy. They're thriving. She's doing well. And this woman that, because I got a special way of setting these companies up. I call it my popcorn moment. Okay. So we'll talk about that popcorn moment too. But, this woman is about sick right now, sick because of how we exposed her butt.
Yeah. And I want to say, there was a comment about that you just referred to. If you're not currently in a toxic job, the book, the bonus session can help you. Just as I see one of the community members commented that you never know, I'm going to quote her, one never knows when your job situation might change or when your management may go left. That is so true. We always, even if you're so-called comfortable right now, situations can always change. So it's no harm. It's no harm to you to be prepared.
That's right.
You want to be prepared. Yes. So everyone, if you haven't registered for the summit, register, get your ticket. Starts May 16th. Get Jackie's book.
Yes,
get Jackie's book. And if you haven't already given this video a thumbs up, give it a thumbs up. It lets you know to suggest this video to other Black women. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel or Jackie's channel, please do so. It is completely free. And we will see you later. Okay. Take care, everyone. Jackie, if you could stay on.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.